Hi, my name is Chris Little, and I am the host of The Lifestyle Chase. In 2018, I started this show to have meaningful conversations. I've interviewed over 100 different people, both in and out of the fitness industry. This podcast is something I'm incredibly proud of. Welcome to Season 4. Thanks for joining me. All right, so welcome to the Lifestyle Chase. I have brought back a return guest again. So today is episode 201 with Patrycia Rzechowka. Did I get your name? Did I get it right? Yeah. Yours is one of the trickiest ones when it's spelled out. And so I always look to your Twitter account just to double check. Like, I've known you long enough that it's like second nature, but I always have to like double check.
Totally.
Your last appearance, for anybody keeping track, was November 29th, 2018 for episode 15 of the Lifestyle Chase. Isn't that crazy?
Holy moly.
So like time flies. Like we used to be neighbors in some capacity. You're just down a couple blocks, and it's just crazy how much things can change. And probably everybody's been through a roller coaster of a couple years. I know that you've shared a lot of your journey on social media, and just like it's nobody's path is all that easy. But if we go at the micro level, how was your day today?
You know what? Today was actually kind of tough. So I just started an MS drug for the first time. And so it was split up between like 2 half doses for the first one. And so I just got my second half dose on September 7th. And so it's just been kind of adjusting to that medication, and there's kind of ups and downs, which I'm already sort of used to with MS, but this is just different. So it's like just kind of trying to figure out what's normal, what's not, what I can deal with, and you know what's a bigger concern. So it's just a whole new kind of thing to deal with. But so it's just the morning was a bit tougher, and as the day went on, I kind of pushed through and still managed to work the full day. And now it's a bit better.
That's good. I mean, every time that I've looked at your posts and the things that you share about your life with MS, like it gives me so much humbling perspective, because I don't think a lot of people really think of other people's lives. I think sometimes they're very self-centered, and they think, oh no, like woe is me, like they're not able to go to a restaurant, or they're not able to do this, not able to do that. And I don't think they consider the human experience of people where they didn't choose to have something, and yet they face it with such a great attitude. Like anybody that knows you would agree that no matter what gets in your way, you're able to face it with some serious like perseverance and determination. And like it is the reason why you've been recognized by the community, and it is the reason why so many people know who you are. But like if anybody needs like a reality check, they should just like imagine themselves living in your shoes for a day, and how you're still able to show up on a podcast, and you're still able to have a smile on your face no matter what's going on. But like let's kind of go through your life since you were last on the show. Like you don't need to give all the details, but like what's kind of transpired for you, what's kind of unfolded and happened for you.
It's so funny because I feel like like 2018, and then 2019 was pretty good, and then I don't know, I feel like the last however 2 years, let's just even say, it feels like they have gone so fast but so slow at the same time. So it's like it's almost like a blur, but then also like it's like a blur because it's slow, but then at some points it's like a blur because it's fast. And so I don't know, I guess 2018, like I'm still sort of working the same job. I transitioned to pretty much working from home, which for me has actually been like fabulous because, as tough as it was to lose, being able to go to the place that I love to exercise and, in-person volunteering and things like that. Working from home, I've been able to, it's taken a lot of discipline, but I've been able to exercise sort of at lunch, and then that kind of frees up the rest of my evenings to have, somewhat of a like life or free time, and like it's just helped me manage my MS a little bit better because I feel like exercise is always a part of me managing it. And so being able to incorporate that throughout the day versus like, having to end my day with it or getting up super early, like it just gives me a little bit more balance. And then I used to find that with MS, like by the end of the day, like I was very like fatigued and brain fog, and like I could really feel some of the MS symptoms sneaking in. And just being able to have that boost at lunch like makes a whole world of difference for the afternoon. But at the same time, just with everything, I started a new relationship at the end of 2019, and like my free evenings became helping my partner with his, I don't want to say disaster, but with his trying to navigate the ever-changing landscape of the closures and restrictions and all these things. And I very quickly learned to pretty much every role in a restaurant there is, and I had never worked in one before, so it was a very steep learning curve for me. But it's been a lot of just kind of managing my own day-to-day life and adjusting to this new sort of new normal, and then trying to help him along the way. And I mean, along the way we also decided, because of certain restrictions and everything, we moved in together pretty quickly. We didn't really even realize it, and then realized that we also had the same desire to move on to an acreage, so took that on at the end of 2020. And I keep seeing all those funny things that are like, the different things that you did in quarantine or whatever, and we did fail. We got a COVID puppy, so we also have that, so she keeps me busy, but is another great, just great for both my mental health and physical health, because she gets me moving on the days where that are tough, that I don't really feel like I want to, and she needs to go for a walk. And so it's just feel like it's been a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of just sometimes just surviving, sometimes doing better than I thought I would be. But I said this kind of right at the beginning of when everything started going down, is living with MS has almost, I feel like it's given me like an advantage in all of this, because just living with MS, like you just have to roll with anything it gives you. And so I feel like, as things were uncertain and there was changes and there was this and there was that, like it's just something that I'm so used to. And like living life, just living life with MS, like I feel like every single thing that you do, you almost, as time goes on, it's almost unconscious, but you consider MS in almost every decision that you make and everything that you do. And so, when this new kind of thing came around, and it was like, okay, like, yeah, let's just add that, and that's just another thing that you kind of have to keep in mind. And so, like, I don't know. I felt like I was just so much better prepared for this, to just like roll with things. And it was, I found myself not getting as frustrated by everything that changed on a dime, and having to adapt to new rules and new restrictions. Like I just did it. And I feel like most people that live with MS, that is what it is. You just do it. So yeah.
Well, I think that's the power of perspective. Like sometimes when people aren't willing to see the world through somebody else's eyes, they miss out on the ability to see how like sometimes you just have to like grit your teeth and deal with it. Like do something that's going to make everything work. Like you talked about how you learn the roles of a restaurant to make your partnership work, to show support, like that compassion for one another, because it's a two-way street. But like every friendship, every connection takes understanding of how your human experience impacts somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's like how I see it through what I see in your social media and everything that you share is just that you have a very keen understanding of like your role in somebody else's life, whether it be Spider Mabel, and how you've been able to really be like kind of a mentor for her and also be able to see the lessons that she can impart on people older than her. Like all these
Mhm.
different things that you've accumulated over the last few years, it leaves sort of like a trail of lessons and perspective and just like almost like encouragement in the most bizarre, most discouraging situations.
Well,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
I feel like I feel like I've lived a lot of my life understanding the fact that, or not even understanding the fact, but realizing that I can learn something from everyone. It doesn't matter how old they are, what they look like, what the like what their background is, what their education level is. Like I just feel like I'm just so open to trying to learn from people. And I think a lot of this is a struggle too, because I also I also realize that there are a lot of people who are smarter than me. And just today is a perfect example. Like I'm looking at some of the latest and greatest research that's coming out around MS, and it's it's mind-boggling, like the things that these researchers are coming up with. And I have a hard time understanding why people can't like grasp that, right? To just be able to be like, you know what, this person might know more than me, and it doesn't matter, what they look like or whatever. Like there's just so many aspects of it that it's just like sometimes like yes, we are entitled to our own opinions, but I can have an opinion of what's wrong with your car, and it doesn't mean I'm a mechanic, and it doesn't mean you should listen to me, right? Like you should listen to the person that knows about it, right? And so that has been my struggle also, because there is a lot of things that people are struggling with right now, and I'm having a not a hard time. Like I can I can sympathize and empathize with people, because a lot of the things that people are struggling with right now are things that people with MS dealt with long before anything right now happened. Like the isolation, there are people that are my age that are living in long-term care facilities, who are alone, and they don't have visitors, and they don't have, like they didn't have iPads, they didn't have all these other things. And now all of a sudden, when this became an issue for everyone, all of a sudden this was such an easy thing to get for people, and all make all these connections. Like the MS Society has a friendly visiting program for people that are feeling isolated. And before this, not everyone had a concept of what that feels like. And now I was really hopeful that by experiencing these last couple months, that it would make people more empathetic and realize and like what people are going through. And it's really tough to see that. I don't think that's what's happening. But I was really hopeful, and I'm still hopeful. Like I'm still optimistic that maybe we'll come out of this on the other side, and people will get that. But like yeah, like there's a lot of people that were dealing with a lot of this tough stuff before, and I'm just hoping that we keep that in mind as we go forward, right?
Definitely. Well, I mean, you pointed out a lot that like could be very enlightening for people that wouldn't have even thought about it. They wouldn't have even thought that like yeah, they're connected. They got all these devices. They know how to reach people, but not everybody does. And they might be able to go and see people now, but not everybody is. And like that is something that I think can move the needle pretty far as society goes in that sense of community. Because like community is a very frequently used word that I often find does not encompass everybody in the geographical area. And I think it's important for people to look around at their neighborhood and be able to include everybody that is included in there. The people who are struggling, the people who not may not have all the same abilities or opportunities, like they still live in your community. And how can we all support each other in a real way and not just like a say it but do something different kind of way, if that makes sense. Something that I was thinking about as I was preparing for this interview was just like the lessons that so many of my past guests have gotten from the past, like let's say from 2020 until now. They're going to be very different from the lessons that you've gotten. So I'm kind of curious to know like what kind of stands out to you the most as being like the things that you kind of want to carry forward in the years to come.
Mm. This is an interesting one because like I was kind of talking about this and it wasn't like it's not necessarily like everybody is going to be impacted in this situation, I guess. And but I think one of the things that I've struggled with is like just in terms of MS, obviously there's never any guarantees. It's unpredictable, but you have some sense of some of the risks and what things might look like. And so, generally speaking, as we, as you get older, you have the risk of progressing and things like that. And so, what people don't realize is like, the last 2-3 years, I might have lost 2-3 years of the only healthy years, quote unquote healthy years that I'm going to get. And so, I think it's just reinforced to me the need to just kind of live life to the fullest, and like that you have one shot at this, right? And so, what are you going to do with it, right? Like there's the things that people are kind of get stressed about, and all these other things and things out of our control. And I think just really reiterating the fact that like the things that you can't control, like if you just let them eat you up, like you're just losing out, right? Because it's been interesting, like having a Paul's little one around too, because it's so easy to see like with kids, right? Where, if something doesn't go exactly the way that they want it to, or they think it's going to go, they kind of almost like shut down. And it's like, on the one hand, I get it, right? Because you're like, you're looking forward to something and you thought it was going to go this way, and then it doesn't. And so I think that the greater lesson that you can take from this all is just because it didn't go your way, you can, if you're, 9, sit on the couch and pout and, not want to do anything, or, and as an adult, it's the same thing. You can say, well, like, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to do that, or it didn't go my way, I'm just going to be angry and upset. Or you can look at it and be like, okay, there's so many situations that you can look at where you it didn't go the way that you wanted to, but you still go ahead with it. And it ends up being one of the most incredible experiences of your life. And you were totally not expecting it. Or it's still kind of not great because it's, not what you wanted it to be, but, like you at least didn't just spend the rest of the day sitting on the couch. Right. And so like, it's just sort of that like just being able to make the best of situations, I think is something that, I don't know, like, it's just that feeling of like, you only have the one shot at this. Right. And, at some point you have to realize that some of the things that you're holding on to are just wasting those, good times, good years. Right. And so, and I mean, like, at the same time, like, we all have those crappy days where it's like, you're totally entitled to them. And it does, sometimes it's just something's not going your way, and maybe you do need to just sit on the couch and be sad, and that's okay too. um but yeah, like, just I think that kind of ability to reframe and kind of look for the positives and look for how you can make it better, and yeah, just move forward, I guess.
Well, like there's a lot of stuff that you talked about there, like reframing being a key word. I
Yeah.
think reframing has helped a lot of people. I mean, in this past year, I've had some counseling sessions where we talked about reframing my situation, and I found that
Mhm.
extremely beneficial, which is why I often like mention that that is part of my wellness routine because then it kind of empowers other people to kind of seek out whatever that they need. But to reframe in any situation is kind of what helps us to push forward because you talked about how, like, you know, no matter who is listening to the show, their time is limited. Nobody that listens
Mhm.
to this podcast is immortal. Like,
Yeah.
we all have like an end date, and we do have to capitalize on what life brings us, and we do have to look for the opportunities. And you talked about seeing the value in what everybody brings in a diverse group of people, like the lessons that can be taught, and giving credit to the academia and giving credit to the life experiences, but just like seeing the value in the people who are already here rather than waiting for somebody that is on this level of prestige to come to us, kind of thing. Like the way I
Yeah.
see it is throughout all of the people that I've interviewed, every interview brought something with it. No
Hmm.
matter whether the guest had 300,000 Instagram followers or like 70. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's kind of the way that we can get through life. Like, life is not made to be easy. It comes with its lessons and its challenges and its tests, and it has this wicked way of dealing some people even more challenges and more tests, and yet they find ways to reframe, just as you do. Something that kind of pops into my head often when I'm kind of thinking about just like the last couple of years, and you talked about supporting Paul with everything that he's doing. What was something that caught you off guard that you learned throughout like the restaurant experience? That you're like, oh wow, I didn't expect to take this from this experience, or wow, this tested me, but I actually did it. I pulled it off.
Hmm. um Phew. Yeah, I don't know. I guess this is a tough one because I don't necessarily think I did anything like spectacular. I think I was just sort of there whenever he needed something. But something that really was eye opening to me, um, and I was kind of talking about this, and I swear now I'm going to say it and it's going to happen. But I, as much as I don't experience a lot of hate on the internet, like personally, um, I get a lot of people that kind of have some opinions and differing opinions and things like that. But in general, I don't get a lot of it. And being, you know, at Paul's side, and helping him with some of the social media and things like that, um, people are just mean, like, and um, just and again, I think it is the inability to see things from other people's perspectives. Like, I don't know, and then this isn't from being with Paul. Like, I feel like, I have had negative experiences at restaurants, or from customer service and all these other things, and I don't think I've ever like gone out of my way to be mean about it. It's either a conversation that you have, or you're sort of like, realizing that, like, this person might have been having a bad day, and I have bad days, and they're allowed to have bad days. And, you know, I feel like I have that ability to be able to do that I don't need to go off on someone, or, give them a bad review or this or that. And, whereas there are a lot of people that just have, like, I don't know if they just need, like, want to be mean, or just almost have like an unrealistic expectation of, like, one of the greatest examples is like takeout, right? Like, takeout versus eating in a restaurant, right? Like most people can understand that, like, from the time that you get your food to the time that you get home, it's not going to be as fresh as when you have it at the restaurant. Like it's just not possible. And then, you know, enter the fact that maybe you're 10 minutes late to pick up your food. So your food was ready 10 minutes ago. And then, you know, it's a 20-minute drive to get home. So now you're 30 minutes. And like the fact that people can't realize that your food's not going to be warm by then. And if you were on time, it might have been, or, you know, like there's just, yeah, like there's just that. And I don't know what it is, like this inability to look at a situation and be like, this isn't actually the restaurant's fault. Like, or this isn't this, or, you know, or just having these like crazy expectations that, yeah, like your food is going to taste exactly the same as if you order it and you get it and you're sitting and eating versus driving, you know, half an hour, right? Like it is that, I don't know, just that inability to like check your like perspective, or I don't know. So yeah, that was kind of a tricky one, but honestly, like I would say probably overall, just being able to get through some of the stuff, like helping Paul. Like I said, I've never been in that industry before, and so for me, like everything was like, oh my god, like I did this, right? And so like even if it was just like punching fries, right, like or you know, for the longest time I was the one that made all of the milkshakes, right? And so it was just, yeah, like for being someone that's never done it before, at the end of every day I was like, yeah, like,
Well, it's cool that you have like the attitude to take on something new and just be like, let's see what we can do here. Like let's see what happens. Like let's make this milkshake. Let's punch these fries kind of thing.
yeah.
Because some people don't even take the chance on those opportunities. Like when I've talked to a lot of like fitness professionals, because there's a lot of trainers that are on this podcast, and when I've talked to them, I've talked about like how much I have benefited from my other jobs outside of being a trainer, and from every single job, not only the jobs that I've had for years, but the jobs that I've had for maybe 1 year or a few months, because it kind of layers on to my ability to see how someone else would show up and to kind of understand like the logistics. Like you talk about how the food cools down in transit, and some people don't even think about that. They're like, well, I mean, it's from this place, and when I normally have it from this place, it's nice and warm, but they don't think about, well, how is it going to stay warm in the Uber car, or how is it going to stay warm in your vehicle? Like, unless those things are in place, like science is going to cool it off.
um yeah, like and it's funny because I feel the same way about volunteer work, and I think people also don't um don't really realize that, because like for me, the current job that I'm in, I was, so I, you know, like I work for the provincial government, and I was in one role, and then, you know, an opportunity came up, and um like one of the reasons that I was looked at for it was because of my experience through volunteer work. So, you know, like I have so many skills and so many things that I've learned through volunteer work that I never would have had otherwise. And so like skills, experiences, you know, and like you talk about community, right? Like you're building as much as community is where you live, communities sort of people that you connect with, community can now we've really seen it can be virtual. But the interesting thing is, one of the things that I love the most, and I think when I do share, I try to do it in a way that is not just for people with living with MS. Like I think I really try to share things in a way that resonates with people, and I get a lot of those messages where it's like, I'm not living with MS, but I have diabetes, or, you know, I'm struggling with arthritis, you know, like there's just so many people are dealing with things that we don't realize. And yeah, like I think I don't think anything that I necessarily do is special, but like just the way that I look at it, like I know that there's a lot of people that struggle. I know, it's funny that you say like, like you look at me and people don't realize and, think, or people don't sort of grasp that other people are struggling, but I do the same thing, like there's other people that are living with MS that I know very well who are going through, more disease activity, lots of different things. And so I look at them as well. And it constantly reminds me that even on the days that I'm struggling, I still feel lucky. And today is such an interesting example for me because, like I use exercise to manage my MS, and the medication has made it a little bit more challenging. And so it's made me have to kind of listen to my body a bit better and take breaks when I need them. And it really reframes those days where you really don't want to exercise and it's tough and you're struggling through it and you're just like, I hate this. Like today I'm sitting here wishing that I felt good enough to exercise. And so these are the days that I hold on to for when I do have those tougher workout days where it's like, I don't want to do this. And it's like, but I can do it. Right. And it feels good. It feels good at the end. And so today, like, these are the tough days are the ones that I hold on to for my own inspiration to be like, hey, remember that day where like you would have given anything to be able to exercise? Do it. Right. Like,
Well, I mean, it goes back to like a lot of people's experience with exercise isn't going to be that they always want to do it. Like
mm-hmm.
even trainers who like our whole identity revolves around fitness in some way, shape, or form. Like we got other stuff going on. But
Yeah.
like people often think that a trainer is just like married to the gym. But
Yeah.
we're also like sitting on the couch feeling sorry for ourselves and we have to kind of will ourselves to do it. But then what helps is like honestly just like realizing that like if we have the capabilities and like the energy to do something, like why not? Like why not apply ourselves? Why not just give it a shot, see what happens, just put one foot in front of the other kind of thing. And that's something that if more people thought about it that way, they'd take on a lot of diverse opportunities, not necessarily just like fitness in the gym, but like for any writers out there, or I mean, people who are aspiring to be a podcast host. Like if they go back to my episode 15, they're going to see a lot of episodes that came after it. And I could have stopped at any one of those, or I could have never even started the show. Like
Yep.
everything starts with that first step, that first action. So when we think about things that keep getting momentum, is there anything that in the last 3 months that you've started doing that has been a change, or like aside from like medication and MS related, but just like kind of like lifestyle or the way you see things or anything like that?
Well, so I don't know if it's within the last 3 months, but I did finally like um, make a website. And it's funny because I've realized that um, like social media is funny, right? Like if your captions are too long, people lose interest. I'm guilty of it myself, right? Like that's why videos are, skyrocketing in popularity and all these things. But I realized that maybe, some of the captions that I was writing were better suited for like a blog post. And it just kind of what I realized, especially in the last probably, I'd say probably 2-3 months, and as I work, was working towards where I am now, a lot of what I write, as much as it is for, people, and a lot of it is, to make people feel less alone, for something to resonate with people, it's also for me. It's I have a psychologist that she specializes in MS, and I've been seeing her for years. And that was probably, of all of the things I've ever done, when I was starting to see her, was probably one of the smartest things, because it is like, it's a work in progress. And so many of the things that I'm experiencing and that I'm sharing, as much as it is for other, like I'm sharing it for other people to feel less alone, I'm sharing it because writing it makes me be able to deal with it better. You know, like writing it down, it's almost like having a conversation with myself. And, you know, working with her, especially over the last couple months, has been so interesting because in my experience, I feel like, and you know, she actually made me do this. You know, she set up 2 other chairs, and there's 2 other versions of me that are always kind of, I'm always in a battle with. And by starting this website and writing these things out, it's almost like I'm able to talk to those other parts of me that are the ones that I struggle with. So, you know, MS comes with this like constant feeling like there's just this unknown and you can't control it. And for me, I'm someone that is long before MS, I'm someone that has struggled with never feeling like I'm enough. Like no matter what I do, it's not enough. And, you know, wherever that came from, whether it was, you know, when I was young and in school, right? Like getting good marks, like they were never high enough. They were never this. I was never the, you know, and no one was ever really making me feel that way. Like, you know, to a degree, my parents wanted me to do well, but they were never, it was never like them telling me like, oh, you're not enough. And I don't know where that started. But over the years, especially like in my kind of young adulthood, like it just got worse because I just, I, everything that would happen, I would just look at it as I'm not enough. This is not enough. I'm not enough. And so, um, you know, from one of the things that I've really realized in this last little while too is because of social media and all of these images that are out there, growing up, there was always all of these images of what like, you know, perfection looks like. And I know so many women now struggle with this, like, you don't look like the people in the, you know, 17 magazine for me when I was growing up, right? Like, and no one ever told us that those images weren't real. We just thought that that was what you're supposed to look like. And so I don't know, you know, that didn't help either. Just that not constantly not feeling enough. I don't look like this person. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And so, especially in the last little while where I'm now, you know, looking at my life and how I've managed MS and taking on this new medication, I really had to have these conversations with myself to say, like, this isn't that you're not enough. This isn't that what you were doing wasn't enough. It's just you need to try something different. And before having those conversations in those 2 chairs, 3 chairs with myself, because one chair is the one that's telling me constantly that I'm not enough and I'm not good enough. The other chair is actually this like backup to that one that's sort of like the like person that can kind of justify why that person's why that version of me is saying that, like, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And then the other side of me is just sad and tired because I'm tired of making myself feel like I'm not good enough, and having this other person, other version of myself trying to back, you know, this not good enough person up. And it was exhausting to try and argue with myself, um to say that I'm enough. Like, I don't have to be, I want to, and you know, realizing that I should be like strong and not skinny, and I don't have to be, you know, perfect, and I'm not the best at this, and I don't have to be the best at that, you know, like all of these things. Like, so being able to write this down and almost like have these conversations with myself, as much as it was to share with other people, I think it has really helped me as well. And so, yeah, so I think the website is kind of would be the big thing.
Well, I like that. That gave so much to unpack because basically, like, the flow of this conversation is ever evolving. I kind of went into this knowing like your origin story, knowing the things that would impact our lives, the things that would impact your life. And I like that you brought up the website because I was giving it a read and I was like, like this is an important aspect of like someone who is in the public eye to be able to express things through their eyes, not always through how it's perceived through like if your legacy was just based on every interview that you did, it wouldn't necessarily be your direct voice. It would be someone else's representation of your voice, which is still good, but it's not going to be as cathartic as you getting the opportunity to just like put it all out there.
Mhm.
And you talked about the long Instagram captions, and I understand long Instagram captions. I myself do many of those.
And I
And
read them.
I appreciate that. Like that is something that like popped into my head bringing you back on the show because I actually noticed. I was like, oh, like Patrycia is like actually liking my podcast posts and paying attention to things. And that made me feel pretty good about all the effort that I put into it. Because sometimes I do the show and I'm like, I don't even know if anybody's listening, but I'm just going to keep doing it. And no matter how like stressed I get or discouraged I get. You talked about the feeling of feeling like not enough, and honestly, there's guys and girls, people of all shapes and sizes that are gonna be thinking about that. Like they're gonna be thinking about how for once in their life they actually feel seen. Like maybe not in their life, but in their week. They're hearing somebody just say it like it is instead of trying to be someone that they're not. They're hearing someone say like these are my inner struggles. These are the things that I deal with. Lots of people have those multiple voices in their head. I know I for one do. I can be honest about that and it's
Yep.
just
Or put him in a chair and have a conversation with them, and it'll like blow your mind. Like, because it's like, then you're like, no, right? Like you're like, no, like who told you that? Like, and it's your own self, right? Like it's just like trying to, when you unpack this and actually like move yourself into these different chairs and speak to yourself in these ways, and you're just like, and like I remember coming back to the me chair and crying because I was just like, look, why do I talk to myself like this? Like no one else talks to me like this. Why do I talk to myself like this? Right. And so yeah, like yeah, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a pro, but it like this is just, I don't know, it was something that really opened my eyes to just, if you take anything away, just look at how you talk to yourself, right? When everything else is quiet and you hear your own voice saying something to you, just listen to it and really listen to it and realize, or like try and see where it's coming from, right? Like,
well, I mean, in my own experiences, like a lot of my initial counseling sessions that I had where I was basically just like putting everything out on the table.
yeah.
They heard it with like an unbiased view and they were able to construct it in an organized fashion and deliver it back to me. And like I felt really good about myself when I was able to kind of see what I had gone through and what upset me, but what I achieved despite what upset me, kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So for a person that's kind of thinking, well, like how could I possibly do that? Well, it's just like writing out like everything that just genuinely makes you mad and like why it makes you mad and like naming those things and naming the things that upset you and set you off and listing it out and then starting to really look at it and be able to like deconstruct and be like, this doesn't have power over me anymore because I'm still here.
Uh-huh.
And no matter what, like this person said, whether it was just your inner monologue or it was maybe like a keyboard cowboy on like the internet review site or something, like those things, like when we are still here despite everything that gets tossed our way, like
Uh-huh.
that is a brick in our brick wall. And at the end of the day, we just have to do whatever it takes to protect the house. That's like an expression that I've been using as of late because I really like it. Protecting like who you are and how healthy you are and how your brain is, how your self-awareness is, like how you feel about yourself in the morning. what you believe that you're capable of versus what you let yourself believe that you're capable of, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Lots to get from that. And something that I wanted to segue into as we're kind of going to the end of this episode was like, what I find to be helpful is seeing the lens that other people see me through. So if I were to like pick like my siblings and my closest friends and just get them to describe me, I've been like shocked with how they describe me is completely opposite to what I would ever expect. Even though I never would assume that it would be that negative, when they are actually honest and forthcoming with what they see in me, it is always a boost. And I think with that being said, to be able to showcase that in other people, us as people's friends and people's coworkers and stuff, for us to be able to point out the things that are great in others is going to give them that boost that they need in a tough time. With that said, like, have you, as of late, experienced any moments where somebody gave you a boost when you really needed one on like a tough day?
Today, I actually, it's funny. There's like, there's a couple people that like are consistently like just sort of cheerleaders no matter what I do. But then, yeah, like I sent this one girl a message today, and she just consistently is like positive and yeah, like just it's funny because like in those tough days where you're just like, it doesn't really matter what anyone says, like it's not necessarily going to make like this the what you're going through physically better, but just kind of that like knowing that positivity is there, and knowing that like the encouragement and just the kindness and the people are there, I think is something that gets me every time. Like it seems to get me on the days where I need it the most, and I'm so grateful for it. But that is, I think that's what I've said for so long, is why I try to give back as much as I can, is because I have those people around. When I was first diagnosed with MS, like I found those people that I could look to and learn from and that inspired me. And I have a family that would drop everything to be there for me. And, I have these things, and I know that there are people that don't. And so I spend an incredible amount of my time just listening to people and being there for people, and yeah, just also trying to be that cheerleader for people when they need it the most. And so it's funny, like when you were talking, it really made me think of just listening to the interviews that my family did in the documentary about me, and I had never really thought about it. I had also never really put myself in. Yes, for my mom a little bit, but I've never really put myself into the perspective of how my family is looking at things, because for so much of my journey with MS, I feel like I don't share those tough days with my family because I'm just like, I don't want to make them worry, or I don't want to, there's nothing that they can do to help me. So I know what it's like to feel helpless when I can't help people that I care about. So I don't want to put that on other people. But what I didn't realize is they're worried no matter what. And it doesn't matter if they can't help me and they feel that helpless feeling, like it's just, they're already thinking it, or they're thinking worse. And so I really realized, and I'm still not great at it, but I really realized that I'm not protecting anyone. Like they're already worried about me, or they're already, thinking that something is going on. So I might as well just tell them. And so it's interesting that you say that about like, you never know what people will think about you, or what, the nice things they'll say, or the boost. Like at the same time, it's like, you really got to realize that like sometimes the things that you think you're, sheltering other people from, or trying to protect them from, or the things that they just need to hear, even though they're tough, right? Like, so yeah.
Well, I completely agree. Like this past couple of years, I mean, I've seen it in other people, I've seen it in myself, I've seen it in people very close to me. Just when you're struggling, just tell people. Like
Hmm.
enroll them into what is going on for you. Just like a person would enroll a person in the exciting things, like our big goals and the things that we want to achieve or do or the places we want to go, we also have to fill people in on what is going on, what we're up against, what we're battling, what's going through our head. More often than not, in those interactions, that is like the catalyst for what might turn into reframing. Maybe there's nothing that they can do, but there's another way that
Right.
we can look at it, and it'll come from that connection with somebody in our life.
Yeah.
Something that I do with all of my episodes as of late is I get my guests to give a challenge to the audience. And I think your challenge is going to be pretty cool because everything that we've talked about has been unique to the past dozen episodes, just your way of seeing life and your attitude. So, with that being said, if you were to give a challenge to the audience to do something that's unique to you, that you think would genuinely improve their day or their life, what would that challenge be?
I'm laughing because part of me wants to be like, go eat at workshop or woodshed. I'm
That
kidding.
counts. They can do that. I support it.
Totally kidding. Hmm. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I feel like there could be so many, but and this is just kind of if you're in a space to be able to do so, but just like, yeah, just I mean, look at some situations in your life, and just just think about maybe how you could have done them differently, or what maybe it would have looked like, or um yeah, like I feel like the interesting thing is by like acknowledging all of these things about myself around, like, not feeling good enough, or all these different things, is I can now turn around and look at whether, of course, my dog is right here. um and sorry, you know what, Dominic, can you take her out for a sec? Of course, people, my brother's here. But no, so if you look at, like, when I think about my not feeling good enough, and I think about the way that I've responded to people in the past, um, there's times where I have responded in a negative way, or a certain way that I look back and I'm like, why did I do that? Like, why did I say that? Why was I hurtful? Why was I this? Why was I that? It's just to look back and to be able to have that self-awareness to say, like, maybe I should have done something differently, or you know maybe in this situation, maybe when a situation comes up, and it seems like it's impossible, or it's annoying because it's not what you thought it was going to be, just look at it and just be like, okay, but what can I do to make it good? Like, what can I just, or how do I just, I don't know, be like, I don't know, flexible is the right word, because sometimes just by being able to just be flexible and just go with the flow, and just accept it for what it is, it becomes something that you never thought would happen, and sometimes it's better than what you thought would happen.
Definitely. I mean, it would help us move forward faster. Like rather than being stuck in like our space where we're facing our demons, we're able to start getting ahead and seeing some change, seeing some momentum, which is what a lot of people want in life, momentum and purpose and feeling like they're at where they want to be. But there's been like a handful of wisdom nuggets that you've left with the audience and life experience. So I'd like to thank you so much for coming back on the show for like episode 201 when the last time was episode 15. Like that is crazy, just the amount of time. I hope people go back and listen to that original episode to kind of get your full story if they're new to you. And I'll definitely have your website linked in the episode description so that they can check that out as well.
Yeah, That's awesome. Yeah. Sorry for the dog interruption.
No worries.
But there you go. That is my life. And we move on and we laugh about it. Like
Absolutely.